These awards, earned, not bought. 23 years, 500 plus deals. But my story started the week I got laid off right after closing on my first home. No savings, no pipeline. Last year I kind of felt the same. Uncertainty, rate hikes, hesitation. That's why I wrote the book, Commission Earned, Not Promise. Because consistency isn't luck, it's structure. If you're an agent trying to stay consistent in this market, grab the link in my bio.
What's going on, guys? I am Femi the Agent, and we are back on another episode of Real Estate and Sneakers. So we talk a little bit of sneaker talk, we talk some real estate, talk some motivation, trying to mix it up a little bit and get some good people that have a lot of stuff of value to talk about. And this lady here is nothing short of that. So we're going to talk about that in a second. Today, I want to talk about the Nike Flyknit running sneakers. These sneakers I like so much that I actually bought a second pair. So if you can see from the bottom, these are actually brand new. Very lightweight sneaker. The other ones that I have, I use them to run, jog.
This thing's light.
Yeah, very light. Whenever I'm moving around and I want to do a quick 3 miles or what have you, I throw on my weight vest and I throw these on. And sometimes I even wear these to strength train. So I like them. Like I said, they're really, really comfortable, really, really light. So if you could grab a pair, I would definitely suggest you do so. We will be talking about some real estate, finding out what's going on with the market, and my son will let you know.
Yes, so with the market at the moment, for 30-year fix, we're right around 6%. For a 15-year fix, we're right around like 5.5%. So still a great time to make any moves. Spring's coming up. It's going to be here faster than we know. So if you're planning to make any moves for the spring or for the summer, definitely want to sit down, consult now, start planning. A lot of moving pieces involved. Get with an agent that could help streamline that process, and at least start going over some numbers and strategic planning beforehand. So,
Yep. Today's episode is about leadership, resilience, syndication, motherhood, and wealth building. My guest here, I'm going to see if I can read off everything that she's done because it's so much. Executive team leader at Keller Williams in New Jersey. She's supporting over 600 agents, 20 years in real estate. She's a general partner on $137 million deals, which equates to 784 doors of multifamily acquisitions. Limited partner in $150 million worth of multifamily assets.
General partner, actually.
General partner.
General partner.
Active investor, flipper, and rental owner since 1996. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have Shannon Aronson, one of my people.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
We appreciate you putting aside some time to sit down and hang out with us and, talk some real estate and have a little bit of fun.
Real estate, but we got something more important to talk about. I've been watching you guys' previous podcast to prepare for today.
Thank you.
And
what are your thoughts?
Well, all you're talking about is athletic sneakers. We've got more important things to talk about.
Let's get to it.
I have exactly one pair of Jimmy Choo sneakers.
Okay. I like them.
I want a little more excitement.
Okay.
Right?
I like them. I'm digging them. But I love the color, though. I love the color. I love the colorway. Yes.
So, but these have a story.
Okay.
So, about maybe 18 months or so ago, I did a flip, and it was a home run. Now, sometimes flips are home runs, and sometimes they're not.
Right.
This one, I just got lucky. It was a cute house. We did everything right, but there was also somebody that just specifically wanted a house in this specific neighborhood in Maplewood. I think you guys know I live in Maplewood.
Right.
There's a little area in Maplewood that used to be a little not so fancy.
Okay.
But all of a sudden, there's these great new eateries popping up, little kinds of cool things. So there's this little new hotspot, and this house was right there. Somebody paid me Way more money than I thought.
Nice.
My very lovely husband came home from the mall at Short Hills.
Shout out to him. Shout out to hubby.
Yes, absolutely. Because I really probably wouldn't have bought Jimmy Choo sneakers.
Okay.
He said,
You're not a fan?
No,
Or-
no, I am. I like nice things, but I just wouldn't have thought about spending that much money on a pair of
On a
sneakers.
pair of sneakers.
You guys
Okay.
would.
Right.
You guys would. I wouldn't. I would spend it on other things, but
That's not your vice, so.
it's not my vice.
Okay.
But it turns out I've gotten a ton of use out of these. So he bought me these home
Okay.
to celebrate
The win.
home run flip. So they're sneakers and real estate.
Nice. I love it. I love it.
I love
it.
them too. I've worn them. I've worn them a lot, and I will say I get a lot of compliments. So the next flip that goes cray cray, I'm gonna buy another.
Celebrate with something else.
I'm gonna
I love
buy
it.
another pair of sneakers and
I
think
love it.
about you guys.
I love it. I love it. So what are you rocking today? Because I see,
yeah.
I see some sneakers on your feet that I like and I'm digging.
So family's more important than anything, right?
100%.
So I'm a Premier League soccer fan as well, but not
Okay.
to the degree that my boys are. They live and breathe
Soccer, that's it.
soccer, but specifically Liverpool.
Okay.
So these are Sambas. These were a special one-time release. They have what's called the Liverbird on the back.
On the
They were
back.
custom. So
Nice.
they came in 2 colors at the beginning of last season, and everybody in the family raced around to buy them. They literally sold out within
Seconds.
hours.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hours,
So
okay.
I had to buy these in the children's sizes
Really?
because the grown-up ones
They were gone.
Yeah, same day.
Okay.
Same day. So that's what I'm rocking today.
But you're actually lucky that you're able to fit in the children's ones,
I know.
so that you were still able. You had a little bit of an okay.
I did.
You had
and
an edge.
I learned
And a cheat code.
I learned a trick because they were quite a bit cheaper than the grown-up ones. So I'm going straight for kids next time.
I love it. I wish I could fit into some kid sneakers. I would definitely.
You would.
I would save a lot of money. Are you more of sneakers every day or like Power Blazer energy?
Neither. I pretty much wear jeans or slacks most days, rarely a blazer because I find them uncomfortable.
Okay.
I like the look of a blazer, but especially under a coat here in our Northeast.
yes.
I know. It's probably more information than you wanted, but so I'm usually jeans and like a pretty blouse and a pretty sweater, but typically boots because I like wearing a little bit of a heel.
Okay.
In the summer, just pretty pair of sandals or something. So I don't really wear sneakers most days, but I'd say maybe one day a week.
Okay. We'll take that.
Yeah. And now that I'm hanging out with you guys, I might try to turn it up.
We may need to turn it up a little
Yeah,
bit.
I'm
Okay.
thinking I might.
Okay. Okay. We got you covered, Shan.
Yeah.
Jump around a little bit. So we want to talk about some real estate.
Okay.
How did you first get into real estate?
So I was living in Manhattan.
Okay.
I had my first kid, and I was pregnant with my second.
Okay.
And we decided that we just couldn't afford, nor did we want to play the whole preschool game. It was intimidating to me. So we decided to move to the suburbs, and it was 1998. It was also a time when the real estate market was very hot. There
It
were
was,
multiple
yeah.
offers and everything. So my husband and I were looking for a house. We bid on a few things. We didn't get them. And I was very pregnant, at 8.5 months pregnant.
Oh, you were pregnant.
Very pregnant.
Okay.
And so we had owned a place in the city that was already under contract. So now we were close to being homeless.
Yeah, you had to go.
We had to go.
Go time.
Couldn't find a home. So we said, okay, no problem. We'll keep looking, but let's rent in the meantime.
Right.
So we looked to rent a house, and there were 6 offers on it to rent.
Wow.
But it was also on the market to sell.
Okay.
It was right on a train track, and nobody had been putting in to buy it, I guess, whatever reason. And now in my area, the market's so hot, nobody would care. But in that moment in time, it was a little bit of a dog, and it wasn't selling.
Okay.
So my husband and I looked at each other and said, if 6 people are trying to rent this house, what do we got? We got a rental investment.
You do.
So we bought it. Then we were in control. Of course, as luck would have it, as soon as we bought it, another house came up that was sort of our,
The same thing. Yeah.
that was the house we were going to move into.
That usually happens that way, unfortunately.
But it turned out to be a good story.
Good.
Because we were able to manage the mortgage on both.
Amen.
We lived 6 weeks in the rental, which we needed. We then moved into the other one.
Okay.
We rented.
The other one.
Yep.
In the
Sold it. You won't love this part of the story, but I wasn't a real estate investor at that time. I was just somebody that saw an opportunity. So a year later, we knew the market had gone up a lot. We put it on the market and we made $60,000. And I felt good about that, you know?
Of course. That's better than renting and getting nothing out of it.
And they get nothing out of it.
I love it.
I know. And that was also a time when it was very easy to rent money. To be honest with you, I remember exactly where we got the down payment. And we used collateral on something that we had like 0% interest.
Okay.
So the ROI on putting nothing down is pretty good.
That's fantastic.
So we had fun. So that was my first foray into it. And at that point in time, I wasn't thinking about being a real estate investor, but I will say that left a good taste in my mouth about doing it.
Well, you had a very good first experience. A lot of people, when they're first getting started, you either lose money, you're losing your shirt. When you're trying to sell it, you got to come to the table with money, or you buy a house and it ends up being a dog, and so many things go wrong with it. So
well, and I think so many other people in our part of the world here, especially in the Northeast right now, where it's so cold, they get really rattled by a frozen pipe. Like, it's annoying, yes, but it's not that annoying.
Not the end of the world.
Call a plumber, call a contractor, buy a space heater, like, you know. So, I think there are a lot of reasons people bail, but I know you guys feel the same way.
Yeah.
Like, get in the game.
I always try to tell people that as well. You know, you're learning things on the fly, but for me, I would always rather let me get that on the job training, if so to speak, and you just figure it out.
And if you own a home that you live in, you're not a novice. You know how to dial a plumber. It's not really that hard.
That hard, right?
Right? So, yeah.
Nice.
I love the game.
Nice. So your first deal it wasn't a nightmare. It was great.
Yeah. And it was an accident. And then I had one more kid. So I had 3 kids, all 2 years apart. And when the youngest one was 2, I was driving him to a 2-day-a-week nursery school program. And I don't know if you guys ever have this experience. I didn't know I was going to have the emotional reaction I had. I dropped him off at school, and I just cried the whole way home, and I sort of didn't even know what I was crying about. But I don't like not being super busy.
Got it.
So I knew I needed to quickly figure out what to do. And as luck would have it, I stumbled on, or I had on my shelf, I don't remember, something motivated me to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad right then and there.
High five. I love that book.
Love that book.
I read it and then came home and quit my job.
I read it.
But I got another job, but it propelled us to
where you are.
There's a story, folks.
It propelled me within 2.5 weeks. I had bought my first investment property. Well, second investment property, but the first one intentionally. And then 2 weeks later, I bought another one. Now, I know not everyone is in a position to buy two.
Right.
But it wasn't that I was sitting around swimming in money.
Right.
I found ways to use collateral that we had to take lines of credit against things. So I bought one to flip, and I bought one to hold. And then when that flip went full circle, I took the profit on that one and bought another buy and hold. But the foundational money on that first flip, I just took that one out for a ride again.
Nice.
And flipped, and then took the profit. And
you started early with that.
I must have been like 33, something like that. So no, old
Right.
compared to the boy genius here. But yeah, it was fun.
What did you do before real estate?
I used to be a psychotherapist.
Oh, so I was thinking something financial, the way that you're flipping money and nothing.
The stuff doesn't scare me, but no, but I liked what I did when I was younger, and I think it comes in handy in real estate,
Right.
But it never felt like the right fit. I knew I needed to be pushing deals and pushing numbers, and it's fun. I don't feel like I work. I feel like I have fun.
Well, you're passionate about what you do. That's why you don't work a day in your life.
Yeah, I know.
What mistake did you make early that shaped how you invest now?
Well, I lost everything.
Okay, we're gonna get into that in a second. Lord. But it's part of the game,
It's part of the game. I
right?
mean, yes, I think people could be smarter than I was. I don't think you have to lose everything, but boy, so many people do, right?
Yeah.
I hope not to do that again. I don't know. So many mistakes. I think early on, I didn't have access to what we have access to now. There's so many things I like about Keller Williams, and people teach you how to be thinking like a business person from the beginning,
Right.
tracking your net worth. I thought when I first started doing this that your wealth or your not wealth was simply about what was in the checking account coming in and going out every
Right.
month, and it always felt like whatever came in went out,
right
and
back
so
up.
I felt poor. But that's not the whole story. The whole story is really your net worth, and even though a lot of people feel like they don't have any, particularly if you own a home, you don't. A lot of younger people, I think, not just younger people, but they don't think about that as money. They're like, well, that doesn't do me any good. I can't buy sneakers or pay my rent with it. No, but wealthy people start to really think about their balance sheet, and that's how I think now. A couple things happened over the last week where I think my husband and I are gonna be cashing out on something
Oh, okay.
that he was all excited. He was like, I think we need to buy a sauna, or
Buy
I
a
said-
sauna, okay.
I said, sweetie, we don't have any more money than we did last week. It was on this part of the balance sheet. Now
Right.
it's just going to this part. It's the same animal.
Right.
But I think making that shift from thinking about your money in terms of what comes and goes to shifting to thinking about your net worth is something that I made a mistake early on. I wasn't really doing that.
You weren't thinking leverage.
wasn't-
A lot of people weren't. Like you said,
Yeah.
when you own a property, you have ways that you can leverage certain things when an opportunity presents itself, and
Yeah.
that's what
That's
I
what
would say you
propels
weren't.
you.
Yeah, that you weren't thinking about early on. I don't think
100%.
any of us were.
No.
Because when I got started in real estate, I was 28. I had no idea. I was sort of learning everything on the fly.
It's there's so much there, it's almost too good to be true, this leverage
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that you don't have to have any money. And that
You need
can,
some skin in the game.
Oh, yeah,
but,
and that can be true in some scenarios.
right.
Scrappy pays off in real estate. But yeah, if you can continue to acquire things, prioritizing things that can be used as collateral. We were talking about Bitcoin earlier, right?
Yes, we were.
I'm not a Bitcoin or a crypto expert. I know a little. My understanding is, well, what we were talking about, which was using some self-directed IRAs to buy Bitcoin.
Right.
No problem with that, but that's not something that you can leverage. I've heard you can leverage Bitcoin, but the way I was talking about
we
it,
were
no,
talking-
because
yes.
it's in a self-directed. But so now I'm very aware in everything I do whether something is leverageable or not.
Okay.
Doesn't mean you don't do things that aren't leverageable, but it's an important thought process.
Got it. You got a question?
Yeah, I was gonna say, so back then, I guess when you were like first starting to invest or picking up the fire, did you feel confident back then, or you kind of just felt like, when you're at the casino and you're getting lucky your first time,
So it's a great question. And so I grew up with a very, very, very mentally ill mother and a mentally ill brother. And I also had two other brothers that were, sane and healthy, but we kind of raised ourselves. And so I never really had a fear of not being able to figure things out. I mean, I have plenty of fears, but the figuring it out on the fly thing was not my fear because I don't know anything else. So I get that that's not everyone, but sometimes when you have a mindset, and I think you're the same way.
You know that I am. We talked about it.
I know that not everyone is that way, but it's very hard for me even to understand that because I'm 58 so far. I've figured everything out, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes.
So now I'm on a second marriage. My first husband, who's a lovely guy, we got along very well, but he was a little more risk averse than me when I started doing this. And he'd always say, I don't like it.
Yeah.
It makes me feel uncomfortable, but I'm not going to stand in your way. I know that's my personality, so you go. And I'm just going to I'll close
Could
my
put the
eyes
blinds
and
up,
look away.
yeah.
Right. And fortunately, that stuff all worked out okay.
Amen. We were talking before. You were talking about losing everything, or
Yeah.
almost losing everything. So, wanted to touch on that verge of almost losing everything and bouncing back. What happened? If you want to dive into it a little bit.
Yeah, so let's see, I was probably, I don't have to do the math, but let's say 39, 40, just in the process of a divorce. I think my kids were probably 4, 6, and 8.
Wow.
When I was divorcing, we basically decided it was easier to split money than real estate. So we pretty much sold the buy and holds that we had, split the money. We had a little bit of other money that we split. And I put a little bit down on a down payment on a house. But almost everything else, well, here, talk about a mistake too. Almost everything else was in one stock, which sounds stupid, but I'll tell you why. My first husband worked for a company where almost everything they got in bonus was stock options.
Okay.
And so that stock, which was doing very, very well, it was, I can tell you what it was. It was a banking stock. This was right before all the banks
Before it
collapsed.
crashed. Okay. Lehman Marcus and the whole financial.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. My first husband said to me one day, we were already our things were already separated. He said, I think I'm going to sell my Bank of America options. He said it's worth about 88 right now. It's never been that high. It'll never be that high again. And I said, just whatever you do for yours, do for mine, because we had the same guy managing our money then. I do not blame him. I could have handled it myself.
Right.
And no one knew that the market was collapsing. This was just like, I'm going to put this on my to-do list kind of a thing.
Right.
Well, the next day they were worth 13.
From 88?
And they were options at like 30. So
Well.
gone.
Right.
The only thing I had left was if I'm not mistaken, maybe $150,000 or $200,000 that I had put as a down payment on a house.
Wow.
And to make it worse, I had, 3 kids now, and although I had a real estate license, I was mostly making my money flipping because that's why I got in the game.
Got it.
I've never in my life missed a payment on anything, but I had all these credit lines in those days so that I could buy flips. Everyone just got letters in the mail. No, they just closed credit
They close
lines.
them.
So not only did I lose all my money, I lost my ability to flip houses. Wow. And I had 3 little kids, and I had just gotten divorced, and I lived in Short Hills, as we were talking about earlier, very expensive.
Very nice. Yes, very nice
place,
area.
and my children were thriving, so I wanted to figure it out how to keep them there.
Right.
Some dark times.
That was a lot. Because I
Yeah.
was going to say, was it market-related leverage? But you had personal pressure. You had a combination of everything going on at the same time.
I also didn't have a trust of money managers, which is not 100%. There's some validity to it. It's somewhat not valid.
I'm a lot like that. I'm very skeptical of a lot of, not a lot of, just...
But I think of how much better off I had been if I had, and I actually had planned to hire one. I know someone that I do trust very much, and he helps me with some of my money now. I just didn't get around to it. But do you think that person would have let me have everything in one stock?
No.
No.
Because everything is always about diversification, right?
Exactly. So there are a lot of, it was sort of a perfect storm. A lot of things went wrong. I also had been flipping at that point in time with a partner, a business partner who was a realtor who would bring me flips. Mm-hmm. And then there was a flip one time he brought me, and I didn't really want to do it. He goes, Shannon, I feel so strongly about this one. I'll partner with you. I'll put up some money. Okay. So we started flipping together. He then got underwater financially in his own life, owed me $50,000, which then
That was back then, of course.
was everything.
Yeah.
We bought a house right as the market crashed. We bought it for, I own it to this day, of $300,000. It was a flip. We literally painted it and had it under contract for $400,000. Good.
Just with paint?
Not exaggerating. But the person who was under contract to buy it was a subprime mortgage borrower. During the under contract period, he no longer could get a mortgage. To this day, he lives there as a tenant. But wait, the story's better. So my business partner, so the market just crashed. That particular house went from us buying it for $300 to being worth under $200. We had a 10% mortgage because it was a really short-term hold.
Right.
We couldn't refinance it because it's now worth 30%
Less than it's
less
underwater
than its
than
own.
what you right.
That partner died, owing me money. It had an underground oil tank. Like everything went wrong that could have gone wrong. However, there's a happy part of the story.
There is.
The tenants still live there. I'm gonna help them find a new place.
Amen.
But that property is now developable. I bought the lot next door. I'm developing a 63-unit building on it. It's a block and a half from the train in Orange, which is in an opportunity zone and a redevelopment area. And so, 18, 10, 12, whatever it is, 15 years later,
Yeah.
it's gonna all be all right. But it was a long, hard, painful journey.
I don't even know how you even weathered that storm, man.
Because you would have done the same. You don't have a choice.
We don't have a choice. You're absolutely right.
And here's another thing. As bad as that situation was, that tenant has never missed a rental payment. So even when the property was underwater, I still got my rent check.
So everything just canceled out from you being in contract for them buying it to now you saying we'll just rent it.
He's been renting it
until
since 2008 to and he's never missed a rental payment.
Amen.
So, yeah.
Well, question?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I guess, was there a point that you considered, I guess, just walking completely away from real estate? Would that be the point, or is there?
I was really scared during that time. But pretty much no. I mean, maybe the odd day here or there, but I know that I'm wired to do this, so I don't know what else I would have done. And like most entrepreneurs, I always believe that there's a bigger future coming. And if I went and took a job, I think that would to me really feel like clipping my wings, because if you have a job, how much bigger is your future? 3%? 4%? Maybe?
Yeah, I always say that the paycheck is what they give you to forget about your dreams.
Yeah. And then that never felt, that's a good line, but that never felt like me.
Right.
So I didn't really, other than, maybe the odd really low 2:00 in the morning insomniac fit.
What was the first move that you made to rebuild?
Getting out of bed.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That's a great first step.
Yeah. And then
Because we tend to put our heads in the sand. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no, and that's the good thing about having kids, right? You can't really stay under the covers because they wake you up. What I did is I never had, at that point in time, I didn't really want to focus on selling real estate. But the truth is, a lot of friends and people would tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, I saw that house over there. Can I go look at it? And then I realized people do need your help. Right. And I did kind of enjoy it. And, it was a good way to make a living. And then I felt a little competitive and really tried to grow the biggest business I could for a lot of years because it was fun. And it still brings you in contact with the investment properties. Right. So that's really what it was. It was changing it only from being investor to being both an investor and a realtor. And in a lot of ways, that makes sense anyway.
It does. As far as habits, what habits changed after that?
I think that habits I'm much more habit oriented now in my older life than I was back then. Okay. But honestly, that's more about health things.
Got it.
I think just setting the intention that I remember somebody saying to me like, so what are your options if you fail? And I was like, well, I don't understand. I don't understand that question. Right. Yeah. So I always was kind of scrappy. And I think I just diverted from being scrappy looking for flips to now being scrappy looking for people that needed my help to buy and sell homes.
Very intentional.
Yeah.
I love it. That breakdown, would you say was actually a breakthrough?
Yeah, it doesn't ever happen overnight, like when you talk about it in retrospect. But yeah, I mean, I love that Robert Frost poem, Way Leads On to Way. When you hit a fork in the road, you don't take one, and if it doesn't work out, go back and take another one. Right. You keep going, and then there'll be another fork, and you figure it out. So yeah, the hard times make you figure stuff out, which gives you a new set of
That's
skills,
true.
which gives you then a whole new area where you can use those things that you're good at to create other opportunities.
I love it. I love it. Question?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I guess that experience that you went through, how does it kind of influence your manage risk or your tolerance going forward?
I sort of hadn't thought about this in a while. I did stop flipping for a while, and it was never some decision.
It just kind of happened.
I think I had the jitters for a long time.
Really?
Yeah, not to keep doing stuff, but like I think what happened when you couldn't get credit anymore,
Yeah.
it was the mortgage industry's changed. Before that, I used to say drive-through mortgages. I would call them. I called them drive-through mortgages because you'd pull around to the window. Do you say, "I'll take a mortgage for 400. Please pull around to window number 2." When that crash happened,
Yeah.
these things called no doc loans went away,
Went
and
away.
like those only came back quasi recently, and they're now called
That's true.
DSCR loans.
DSCR loans.
Sort
Yes.
of.
Yes.
So opportunities dried up a little. So it made logical sense to focus on the other stuff. And then it took every bit of my soul and my being to end up building the real estate team that I built.
Really?
And so, yes, I would look for other opportunities, but like it was more buy and holds and things. And then, I don't know, one day I was just around other people that were flipping and I was like, yeah, it's probably time to get back in the game. And
You
then I
missed
had
it. Your,
fun.
your palm started itching.
Yeah, I know. Also, when my youngest kid left for college, I scaled back selling a little bit. When I had first gotten divorced, I said my kids were thriving, so I made a promise that I would keep them where they were.
You support whatever needs to be done.
And so, you know how it is when you're selling real estate, it's 7 days a week, 24/7.
Absolutely.
When my youngest kid left for college, I said to my husband, I'm going to just scale back. I didn't really enjoy the 7 day a week, 24/7 constant. So that's kind of then I started the real estate investment stuff. You could do a little bit more on your own time.
Right.
Now, I will tell you 7 years after that, I am kind of missing the selling and going about looking for a little bit more with
Okay.
clients I like, with people I want to work with.
Right.
I'm not trying to build, a powerhouse team.
Got it. We're gonna talk about dive into motherhood and leadership for a second. How did you balance that tough season while being a mother?
24/7 work. That's all it is, right? You just
As parents?
as parents, kids got to eat, got to pay the bills. It was stressful. I don't have to tell you. It's
I know.
stressful driving. I had 3 boys. They were all very into sports. I remember a couple of seasons in my life when they were all in Little League and travel soccer at the same time, which is in the same part of the year.
Yeah.
And also, you've probably gotten the memo. A lot of real estate is done on weekends.
Which is the same time we need to juggle everything else.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I sometimes driving somewhere with tears rolling down my eyes just because I knew there were phone calls that needed to be returned and kids that needed to be picked up, and trying not to forget anyone anywhere. I'm very proud of that. I never left a kid anywhere.
I love it. Amen. Thank God.
It was just muscle. It's just muscle and grit. And
Grit. I was just about to
It's
say that.
it's honestly it's not that much. It's not that much fun when your stress level goes beyond what we all know is healthy.
That's true.
I don't know I don't know what I would have done differently. I did the best I could, but it's not healthy to be with that much stress 24/7.
It's tough, especially you having 3 boys. I mean, I have 2 kids. I had 2 kids, at the time, and my kids were 4 years apart. So my son, he has basketball, he has his activities. My daughter has dance, she has track and a whole bunch of other things, and you're trying to figure out a way to balance it, like you said,
be there.
along with real estate, doing the things that you need to do to support your family. It's not easy.
It's not. And the other thing that I both love and hate about real estate is our clients, unless they're investors, they're moving because they're going through one of those 5 most stressful things people always talk about, right? Like health problems, financial problems, job change, whatever. So at the moment, our clients are under so much stress themselves. You don't want to leave them hanging. You don't want to not return their call because they're dying to figure out what's going on. Their house is already under contract on the sale. Is the buy going to go through? Well, wait a minute. We just found that, the sewer pipe needs $20,000 of repair. Like, you want to take care of them. So when your kids are here and they need to go here and they need to go there and they'd love your attention at the game and have you not be on the phone all the time,
Right.
those people also need you. So
Well, remember, at the end of the day, we're all glorified problem solvers.
that's what we are.
So trying to juggle that, the personal and also the business, it's
hard.
people don't understand. Yeah.
But we are problem solvers. And, you said parenting and leadership, and I know you feel the same as me. I think good parents think of themselves as leaders first.
Right.
It's you're casting a vision, you're helping your children understand an identity, and we can't completely craft it, but I know sentences like, well, in our family we don't lie, and in our family we don't cheat, and in our family we do our homework as soon as we come home from school.
Right.
And in our family we always do our best. Like, that's being a leader and casting the vision. And okay, to an extent kids have the choice to climb on or not, but at least, knock on wood, I found in my case they did, and in your case they did.
Right.
So parenting is leadership, in my opinion.
I agree. I like the way that you look at that. Did motherhood change how you view money and investing?
In the beginning, it changed because not just my survival. I needed to keep them doing what, I like to live what I call as an enriched life, and that's different for everybody.
Of course.
If you have a kid who, let's say, none of mine do, but let's say your kid loves the arts or Broadway or da-da-da-da, you don't have to take your kid to Broadway. That's a gift if you can.
That's a gift. Exactly.
But if you're a parent and you can help your kids live a life that's enriched with their passions,
Right.
so that's a good thing. And so, for my, in my knucklehead children, it was all sports all the time. So in the beginning, it was helping them to be able to follow their passions. And now I think it's, two of my kids are, to an extent, in business with me. They also
Nice.
have day jobs, but they work in the real estate finance industry. One of them is an asset manager at a large New York institution, and the other one works in private equity and real
love it.
estate. And they work with me on our syndications. And so for me, I still feel I'm trying to, as an entrepreneur, craft a bigger future that has room for all of us. I'm not doing work to give them opportunities. They have different skill sets than I do.
They do.
And we're working on things together.
Nice. You had a question?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you feel like is harder, or what did you feel like was harder, raising kids or managing agents, or?
Whew, totally managing agents. In my house, I joke all the time. We sort of show love through yelling. Like, we're not screaming at each other all the time, but if I
You sure
feel
you're not Caribbean, Shannon?
No, but maybe.
I love it.
If I said to my kid, they don't, now they're grown up, they have, but if I'd be like, dude, you said you take the garbage out. You did it. I can you can't really do that to an agent, and that's even my husband and I will joke. Sometimes if he's gone or something, be like, I'm so glad you're here. I didn't have anyone to yell at. And
I love it.
But, work, you have to be professional all the time. And also, the one thing that I really think I was able to pass on to my kids was a ridiculous work ethic.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't understand. I'm probably not very compassionate when people don't have a work ethic. Not everyone does, and I need to tone down my judgmentalism about that because other people.
You and I share the same.
Right?
We share a lot of the same sentiments, but
It's funny. I was talking to a good friend of mine recently, and she said her child had been on a job interview and got a surprise question. In the job interview, the person said, "Tell me something you learned from your mother." And this friend was so proud because she said her son said kindness. Now, my friend is very kind. I'm sure that's true. I remember thinking to myself, they wouldn't say that about me. They'd probably say work ethic.
which is still a beautiful thing, though,
It's a
Shannon.
beautiful thing. But so when you work with agents, everybody is entitled to have their own level of work ethic. And I try to learn to be okay with that. And you do too.
Okay. But it makes it tough for you and I because of how we grew up and how we're programmed and how we're wired.
Yeah. And it's probably
Gift and a curse?
a gift and a curse. Yeah.
Okay, I guess we'll leave it there. Wanted to touch on syndications. You hear so many people talking about it, and everybody's trying to figure out different ways to invest. I have 10 or 20,000. I don't have a big down payment. What exactly is real estate syndication?
Okay.
No one better to explain it than you.
So let's take the word real estate out.
Okay.
A syndication is, in essence, a type of legal structure around a partnership. And that structure, I'm going to give it to you just way over basic. There are a group of people that are general partners. I think of them as movie producers in a way. They find the property, they get the property under contract, they hire the lawyers to get it under contract. They do all the due diligence. They hire the appraisers and inspectors, and they get the financing.
Okay.
They risk capital. They do all the looking, because you have to look at 20 deals to find one.
Right.
Then once those general partners say, yep, this is a good deal, the bank will loan us maybe 65% as an example. We now need to go find the rest of that money.
Right.
If it were just 2 or 3 general partners with their own money, they wouldn't do a syndication. They would do something called a joint venture.
Joint venture, JV. Okay.
But when you need a lot of people to come up with many, many millions of dollars, then you use this alternative structure. So the general partners have all the decision-making capacity, and LPs or limited partners can simply sign up to put X amount of dollars in with no promise of earnings, but the chance to look at a pro forma and understand what the earnings will likely be. So it's really, if you think of it, most of the time the syndications that I do are large apartment buildings. But if you think about just buying a single family home that you're going to rent out, you know what the mortgage is going to be, and you kind of know what the rent will be. You can get surprises. Hopefully the house will appreciate over time. At some point, maybe you do a cash out refi, and but it's the same thing, but on a scalable level. And so a lot of times people don't want, as we talked about earlier, the frozen pipes and such.
Right.
They don't want to do that. So then it's just easier to say, let me still get in the real estate game and put some money in and let other people handle it.
Okay. Question, son?
Yeah, I was going to say, why did you start syndication?
Just always the curse and the blessing of wanting to do bigger and more and have a bigger future. And I love real estate, but you don't want to have the same conversation 100 times for 30 years. Yeah. After a while, you want to...
It's redundant.
Yeah, you want to have new conversations. In new places. And so it just sounded more exciting and more fun to buy 200 units instead of one. And of course, at first, you think, well, I can't do that. Right. I don't have $50 million. And then you go, oh, wait, it's the same thing. You and I talk about like agents. Sometimes, we're so passionate about trying to get them investing. And sometimes they think, well, I don't have $50,000 for a down payment. Right. Okay. Also, I don't have $20 million as a down payment. So then you gotta get scrappy and problem solve and figure it out. Mm-hmm. A syndication is a way to bring a lot of opportunities to a lot of people to make money in real estate together.
Okay. What problem does syndication solve for investors? I know you touched on it.
Time, if they don't want to or don't have the time to manage their own properties. There can be some very big tax advantages. And everybody's tax situation is different, so a little asterisk on that. But particularly for people who are real estate professionals, there can be some massive, really nice advantages. And even if you're not a real estate professional, there are still tax advantages because you can still use that depreciation. If you buy stocks and they appreciate and you sell them, you got to pay tax on that.
Oh, the capital and the gains.
Right?
Yes.
Right. In real estate, no, there's a nice, beautiful way around that by using depreciation. Even if you're not a real estate professional, once you sell or when you start getting rent checks, you've got depreciation. So it's tax advantaged.
That's a good one. What is the typical initial investment to participate?
There are lots of them out there. In my world, it's usually sometimes a minimum investment is 50. I just did one that was 50. It was a car wash actually.
Oh, okay.
We know quite a few people in common that did that one. I'd say on average they're 75 and sometimes they're even 100.
Okay.
Now, if somebody doesn't want to put that much money in, there are some other ways they can do it. They can form an LLC with a couple of people and everybody
Pull their money together and then
there are some complications with that, but they're all manageable. So yeah, there's ways. And then there's other people other than me that do syndications with smaller minimums.
okay. Well, I know you, Shan, so
There you
this is
go.
why because Shan is the real deal, folks, and she really does this. Like,
I really do this.
scrappy.
And
question?
but having said that, not me nor anyone else in any real estate deal, this. There's no perfect straight line.
Right.
If it was, we'd
Everybody
put all
would-
our money in.
Of course.
It's they go like this and some go like this and some go like this and but you do want to have someone that you trust to weather the storm because there always will be.
Of course.
What were you gonna ask?
I was gonna say, who do you feel like should get into syndication?
Great question. You should, the same way we were talking about with crypto and stuff. It's less volatile than crypto, let's be honest. It's real estate. But you don't, like, no one should put their last dollar in.
Right.
There's different structures. Again, there's something called a 50CB and a 506C. And basically the SEC prefers people are accredited, which means they have at least $2 million in net worth and an income of 250. Those are ballpark numbers because it's different if you're married or not.
Right.
But you want people that are doing this to diversify, not like put your whole savings in it. And I sometimes I meet people that are really anxious to get in it because they are good deals. And they are fun, but I don't want people doing it if this is too much of what they have.
The tolerance, if you can't
handle it, and you can't get out until it sells.
I was just about to say that.
No, you can't. You're not. They are not liquid. So you need to be. It's like we were again talking about with Bitcoin earlier. You need to put that money in there and let it plan to sit for
18
every
months?
deal's different. No, ballpark 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
Now, if you bought into a syndication and the market got really good where that syndication is, there's every chance that in a year or 18 months it might sell and everybody takes their money and is happy. Sometimes the market goes way up. You do a cash out refi, you get maybe half of your cash back or 20% or even all of it.
Right.
But you should always ask the person running it, what is the timetable? Most of the ones I do are predicted 4 to 5 years.
4 to 5. Well, okay. What is the risks that investors should understand before getting involved?
Could lose everything. Same as everything else. Now, but here's the case. Remember that property I told you that I bought it for 300 and 6 months later it was worth 200. Guess how much I owed on that property? Close to 300.
Close to 300.
I don't
when you
remember
bought it.
exactly, but
give
yeah.
or take. Yeah.
What's worse? Putting in $100,000 and losing $100,000 or owing a mortgage of 300 on something that's maybe worth 175? I mean, there's no definitive answer because I just wrote it out.
Depending on who the individual is and what's going on at the time.
Right. Syndication, the worst thing is you could lose it all. In a property that you buy and you have that mortgage hanging on your head, you could argue that can be worse in some scenarios. So, and listen, you don't usually lose them all, but I've certainly heard of people who have. None of my deals, but interest rates were 3, they went up to 7. Most of these commercial loans are 5-year loans. There were plenty of investors who brought LPs on when a mortgage was 3, their 5-year came due when interest rates were 7.
Wow.
They had to give the keys back to the bank on those.
Oh, man.
So it happens. But normally, what is real estate? Putting heads in beds, and they pay the rent, and you pay the mortgage. And for the most part, I still believe real estate is one of the safest things around.
Well, it's something that you can hold on to. So, when I talk to people, I try to tell them the same thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different things that you can invest in, but with real estate, it's something that's tangible, something that you can see, you can
see
hold
it.
on to it, and
You could sleep in it if you
can
needed
sleep
to.
in it if you need to.
And you don't ever have to, especially, like single families and things like that,
Right.
you don't have to pay it back. You simply pay a monthly payment.
Right.
Right? So no one, for the most part, unless you have, some short-term mortgage, no one's ever saying, I want the money. They're saying, I want the monthly payment. And so people should always be very careful with their reserves. You don't need to take your reserves and pay off a mortgage. You just need to take your reserve and buy yourself a month and another month.
Yeah, that's true. So what's the word that I'm looking for?
It's safer. You're
It's
just
safer, yeah.
you're just buying. You're just making payments.
Yeah.
We've all made payments our whole life.
That's true. And we continue to make payments and payments and payments. I was going to ask, I know we touched on sneakers in the beginning. If we were talking, let's say, two options, would you say like a Hoka sneaker, or would you say some Nikes or Adidas?
So I used to run a lot. I know you talked about running. I used to run marathons, and
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm learning a lot about you,
You
Shannon.
learn-
And I knew a lot, and I just...
there's more.
There's more.
Learned a lot about you too. I didn't know you were such a big runner. I can't run that far because I have a bad hip. A little bit. Not even a terrible hip. It just acts up if I try to run that far.
Got it.
So I have these very ugly Asics sneakers because
like
they
Asics, too.
seem to...
But that's what we grew up with.
Yes, we grew up with.
Yes.
But they're not pretty. No disrespect to anyone loves them.
Right.
But they seem to do well for my hips. So when I'm in
good.
the gym, those are what I wear. If I'm walking, working out, those are what I wear. And then, if it's not that, then I want pretty.
Jimmy Choo, shout to hubby again on those.
There's a couple of nice girl sneakers out there.
Okay.
Hokas I like. I don't find them comfortable for me. Do you guys?
I don't own any, but I know. Yeah,
People love them.
A lot of people that I know, they said that they love the Hokas. They said they're really, really comfortable, but I don't own a pair, so I can't speak on it.
And now you
Somebody
said,
at Hoka, you need to send us some sneakers, and
yeah,
then we
exactly.
can do a
We'll
review
try 'em
on
out.
it. We'll try them out, right?
Somebody at Jimmy Choo, send me some sneakers.
Send Shannon some sneakers, please.
Now you were showing your running shoes earlier, and you said if you run 3-5 miles, do you also do long distance?
No, not long distance. I don't want to sit here and lie to the viewers, because then they see me outside. Femi, we saw that you only do 2 miles, 3 miles. No, I don't do long distance.
Is it fast?
Can't test.
Okay.
Yeah, you see this?
I know he's been in the gym heavily, so
Okay.
Yeah,
Do you also run?
yeah, I'll run like a mile, 2 miles.
Who's
Not
gonna
like
win
anything.
over a mile?
Oh, definitely.
Do you agree?
No, I can't even argue the point. He's a lot faster than I am.
Let's get video set up.
You want to see it?
I want to see it.
Okay. I'm more of I strength train, but I have a 42-inch vertical at 51 years of age.
Really?
I'll show you the video. Right.
Wow.
Maybe we'll attach the video to this.
All right.
So I still have.
I'd
Some
like
hops.
to see it.
I still have some hops. Yeah.
Okay.
Fill in the blank. When you're on the verge of losing everything, you learn.
Grit. A little bit of compassion too. Because we all walk around with voices in our head about other people that annoy us sometimes. We don't know what they're going through.
That's true. But when that starts to make a little bit more sense, I think the older that we get, you start to look at this a little bit differently.
I do too.
Yeah,
Everybody's on there. It's so cliche, I know, but it's so true. Everyone's on their own journey.
that's true. Last question, and then we'll close it out. What does financial freedom mean to you today?
Financial freedom for me today means being able to live that enriched life we talked about before. But I want to work. I'll continue to work. My husband loves to work and will continue to work. But to know that I could live an enriched life
If you stop today.
if I stopped working. And in a perfect world, for me, that's a heck of a lot of travel, being able to buy the sneakers if I want them,
Right.
being able to enjoy music and arts and go to concerts and have nice dinners with my children and my family. None of those things are important in and of themselves,
Right.
but they're lovely and joyful if you can do them. So being able to do those things without earning any more money.
I love it.
How about you?
Traveling for me right now is really, really important. Like, I traveled a lot when my kids were younger, but I wasn't in the moment.
Okay.
I was always on the phone. And, at times my wife would say to me, like, why are you
here?
Why are you here? Because I wasn't enjoying it. I was just always thinking about the next deal and this person calling, I need to answer these calls. I need to attend to these clients. I need to do this. But now it just means a lot more.
Yeah.
Just being able to live life on your own terms, enjoy it. I've been working since I'm 51 now. I've been working since I was 12 or 13. I was a paper boy. So at some point you start to slow down a little bit and just start to try to enjoy the fruits of your labor. It just means a lot more now.
Yeah.
For me.
There's more fun in it when you can do that.
For sure.
What about you? What does financial freedom mean?
Being able to move around, see things without having to be locked down to one place. Always looking to meet new people and see more to be more. I feel like, but that's really it to me. Just be exposed to new people, new ideas, and just have the freedom to kind of learn and keep growing. Honestly.
He's so wise. Were you that wise?
Not even close. Not even close.
Well,
I had no clue.
I really appreciate you guys having me.
Thank you. How do people reach you?
They reach me by happy to reach me by my cell phone.
Okay.
973-214-0691.
Okay. Are you big on socials?
I'm on social, but I'm not big on it. I'm at the Shannon Affect with an A, not an E, on Instagram.
Okay.
And you can DM me there as well.
Thank you. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, 516-218-1605. Son?
516-662-6824 and Femi the Realtor on Instagram.
And Femi the Agent on all socials. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, Shannon, for sitting down and hanging out with us.
Thank you so much.
We love all the knowledge, all the gems, and I can see now where you and I...
we clicked in the moment one.
Automatically. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
have a great day.
so
Stay
much.
safe.